the windsurf magazines in the world. And so I had a period of doing, I don't know, 5 or 6 magazine tests every year. And I think I had that background, but then coming to work with Marco and Kai and obviously Raul and Uli and those guys, it's amazing how much, like Marco said, I'm pretty much in constant contact with Marco and Raul, the whole time, about different sales and different projects and the process, even though we're on the other side, kind of effectively other sides of the world. Marco's in Tenerife right now, Raul's obviously in Germany, Kai and I are over here in Maui. The process is impressive, really. I'm amazed at how much work goes into each and every product, honestly.
And it's also good because last year we had Kai Hock here on Tenerife and Adam Lewis as well. So this year is a bit different. We still have the loft here ready to make some changes on the sail. But as Kai couldn't come to Tenerife, they active the Maui loft again. So actually Kai is building some prototypes of Maui again. He's still able to change some prototypes. Maybe Adam, you can say something about how many prototypes you're doing, about how many times you change on one sail, some recuts.
Yeah, so I mean, when we got here, and obviously Kai arrived around the same time, having been in Tenerife, arriving back here in Maui, straight away I think Kai kind of knew that it was going to be tricky to travel. And we didn't know about shipping and things like that. So he basically started making a sail plotting machine. And I guess it's a little insight into the genius, I suppose, that is Kai, our sail designer, is that I remember I turned up at the loft and there was just electric motors and wiring looms just everywhere. And so he built a sail plotter. And so we can build from scratch sails here at the moment. But I mean, if I give you an example, right now we're working on the 2022 sort of wave sails at the moment. And I know like we've been working quite a lot on the 5.0 Superstar. Like the other day, Kai finished it. I took it on the water, sailed it for an hour, kind of a bunch of different settings, went back to the loft. We dried it out, took the whole luff tube off, redrew the luff curve, put the luff tube back on, went to the beach, sailed it, ended up going back, taking part of the luff tube off again, re-stitching it. And I mean, you end up like the process, and I mean, where the loft is probably about 10 minutes from Hukipa, and I don't know, 20 minutes from Kanaha, which is kind of a pretty good bump and jump spot too. I mean, I think the other day we did 4 luff changes in a day, which is mental. It's pretty cool to, in a day, fire through that many variations of a sail.
That was funny because I don't know if you still remember the story. You just give Kai a knife and he can make a different sail. We just received some new prototypes of last year's Superstar or this year's Superstar. And we rigged the sail and it looked already, sometimes we can see the ray before that the sail will not work as great as the other ones. And suddenly Kai just takes a knife, just opens the luff panel a little bit, and suddenly it's a different sail. It's a game changer. It's so much better. It's funny to see, or it's great to see Kai, how he's changing the sails as SEP, and it's
you guys are always testing them, always on the water. I mean, has it been windy over there, Adam? A little bit.
Honestly, since we were talking about this yesterday because it was howling in the Hukipa, but I think since I arrived in February, and I'm like, this is not an exaggeration, I think there's maybe been a week without wind in total, and the rest of the time it's been windy.
Wow.
Insane. I think this is an especially windy year for here, and it's maybe not like the Canaries that you get those really windy days a lot, but I mean, to sail on 5.0 and 4.7, and now we have the foil sails. I mean, Marco knows, but I have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get down to the harbour to get light enough to test a full sail.
You have to rig the sails when it's still dark.
Yeah.
Standing in the harbour.
Let's go.
In the harbour, dodging sharks.
Still in the dark. No,
There's
but
still
it pays
the
off.
story
Yeah,
of this big white shark in the harbour. You don't want to take a swim.
I think the one that lives in the harbour mouth's even got a name, but I don't want to know it.
Crazy. No, but you guys are on the water always testing, and yeah, you see it back in the products. I mean, I'm in love with the sales, and that's for a reason.
It's good because we're not just okay. Maui is our home base of the developing, but we want to test like the products everywhere because the sales have to work everywhere, not just on lakes. I mean, I'm testing the products also at home on my lakes, then here on Tenerife, and on Maui.
Yeah.
So we get really like as much as possible out of the sales, and they have to work everywhere.
Yeah.
I think as well, like Marco says, it's not a case of, because I think this is the impression a lot of the time, is that you go sail in your keeper for an hour or two, go on a 4-7, and you go, oh, job's a good one. We end up like, there's a lot of spots even just here. The other day we had to go to like kind of this different spots the other side of the harbour, dead on shore, and it's honestly like it's silt. It's exactly like silt.
Oh yeah.
Like shore, dead on shore. I mean, you are in board shorts, but
there's a little difference.
But like in terms of the conditions, it's similar. You know, like we do. I think there's a really conscious effort among us all to get sales and products that work for everything.
Nice to hear. Interesting stuff. But of course, we have all seen the footage, not just from you, but it was crazy last week with Jaws. We're talking now about Jaws, and I think together with me, a lot of people are very interested to hear your story on the process. How do you prepare? How do you get there? I mean, you arrived in Hawaii, you said, last year, February, and you sailed Jaws on one of the most gnarly days ever. Tell us about it. How was the process? How did you get ready? Insane.
So I think firstly, like last year when I was here and I was doing the testing with Marco, I surfed it a couple of mornings, kind of around the Aloha Classic, and that was kind of my first introduction to it. And already then I was like, I really, really need to windsurf this wave, because it's amazing how perfect it is. A wave. It's huge, but perfect. There's almost not like a droplet of water out of place, you know. So yeah, from then on, it was already kind of in the back of my head. And then I think having just the opportunity to be here in the autumn, you already kind of tell everyone's gearing up to sail Jaws. So I would say for the last sort of few months, I've been doing a lot of training with Brazinio, Ricardo, and Morgan Moreau, and sort of we've been doing kind of gym stuff, and then at the end of the gym stuff we've been actually going to the beach and doing breath hold and wipeout training with Sarah Hauser, and so I think that already makes a big difference. You have that in the back of your head. It's kind of like to do that sort of thing, you know, you kind of need to know in the back of your head you're going to be able to deal with falling on that sort of wave, because you kind of have to be ready for that. And so just to have that in the back of your head, that you kind of are prepared, you know, your breath holds and things like that are pretty up to scratch. And we've kind of been doing underwater breath holds after training, so when you're tired, and like literally having the other guys kind of beat you up underwater just to kind of deal with that stress. So that was kind of really important. And then I mean, I have to say, in terms of like my preparation, getting to Jaws already is kind of a mission. Like I said, when I surfed it before, you kind of just jump off the rocks down there. But we've just had like a bunch of kind of more easterly wind days, and I mean, it just means that there's a massive shore break on the inside of Jaws in the little bay that's down there. And I mean, if it's windy enough, it's fine. You can kind of launch from that bay. But with these easterly wind days, it's probably glassy for the first sort of, I don't know, 200 meters off the beach. And it just means, I mean, honestly, launching there with that kind of wind, you've got to go a long way with the gear and then rig up kind of out to sea. And it's just, I mean, I think Ricardo did it once last year and he just got steamrolled straight away. So it's just a process of getting a jet ski sorted and getting up. So I think my first windsurf was on the Thursday, and we had kind of this once in a decade swell coming Saturday. So that was kind of my first sort of experience sailing there at Jaws. And it was kind of the perfect day. It was big, but there wasn't a lot of period in the swell. And so the period here makes a really big difference in, firstly, like the speed that the swell travels out to sea, and also the thickness of the wave and kind of like the sheer weight that the wave has when it comes on the reef. And so like this once in a decade swell, we're talking about a 22 second period sort of plus swell. And then the one that we had on Thursday was kind of a 15 second, but it's still big, you know, still proper Jaws, but just, it was the perfect kind of entry day to it. So that was kind of my lead up. And then I have to say, like, just knowing that swell was coming, there was guys flying. We had like kind of the tow guys flying from Nazaré, from all over the world, kind of coming in. And yeah, it was, I definitely, like, Friday night, Saturday morning, I didn't sleep at all, that's for sure.
Adam, what was actually the reaction of your mom when you told her, "Mom, I will ride one of the biggest waves in the world"?
Yeah, she was all right. I think, like, I think they know better by now, to try and kind of stop me from doing something, because I just do it. But I think they were definitely happy that I have like a proper big wave padded impact suit, and I have an inflation jacket, and I feel like with those two items, they're kind of a necessity for this kind of swell. But I think they know that I take that stuff seriously, and it's not like I'm just waking up in the morning and going, oh, you know what, I'm going to go and send Jaws.
Sounds like you had a long road of preparing in the back of your head since you arrived. A lot of training, so you know what you're doing. But still, it's a wave of consequences. Eh? And the foot.
I have to say that. So the Saturday morning, when we got on the jet ski, I shared a ski with Morgan, and we drove up. And when on Saturday when we arrived, this set came in, and I just remember looking at it, and I was just like, I just can't believe I'm seeing. You know, it was huge, and like, what I think a lot of people don't realize, especially from the cliff angle when you're looking at it, is, I mean, the wave's massive, but it's as round as it is tall. It's like a slab. The thing is mental, and it's perfect. But I mean, just the sheer thickness of that swell was mind blowing. Like, I just remember just turning up and just watching this set just explode, and I was just like, oh my God, what am I doing here?
You didn't doubt for a second. Get out of here.
Oh yeah, I know. I definitely like looked at it, and I was like, I'm going to sit on the ski for half an hour, and I'm going to watch, because this is.
But can you compare that feeling to ride Jaws with something else, like just for the people to understand if there is something similar?
Honestly,
No.
I don't know. I don't. There's nothing like I've experienced. That's for sure. Like just the sheer the speed, and like on those set waves, you look up, and I mean honestly, it doesn't even make sense. You know, you're looking up at this thing, and you're like bottom turning, setting your rail, and you're like, I hope this bloody rail holds. and just looking at it, and you're like, it doesn't. It's so high and away from you, and like feathering. It's unlike anything I've seen. Yeah. It was the Saturday swell was like, for me, mind blowing. Yeah. The kind of Friday one was still. The Thursday swell was kind of still. It was still like wave sailing. It was just wave sailing really fast on like a massive wave that was scary. But the Saturday one, I mean, I've never been that fast on any board before, for sure. And I mean, I don't know, it was nuts. Like I remember kicking out of the first big set wave I had, and I was just like, I had to like lie in the water and process, you know, like what had happened.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. It's hard to describe, honestly. But it's something that especially that Saturday will stick in my mind for sure. Like, you know, just even sat on the jet ski with the boys afterwards, watching these sets come in, and just the thickness and it's stunning.
Wow.
Adam, which equipment you were using?
I used I was talking to someone else about this. It was kind of weird. I tried a couple of different setups on the Thursday, and I kind of tuned my gear a little bit. I took a 5.0 Superstar, and I took that because, I mean, firstly, you need to be going really fast, and I didn't want to be like taking any risks, basically. Yeah, so you need a lot of power, and the Superstar I picked basically because it's really early planing, and it's kind of, it has that really instant on off, and so it's kind of easy to ditch the power if you need to, especially the way the wave works there is kind of nuts, and it bends sort of all of the other natural elements around it, I would say. So what you don't realize is, firstly, you know, you look at the clips of Jaws and you see immediately like how windy it is at the top of the wave. Like it's insanely windy. But what you don't realize is at the bottom of the wave, you have basically like the barrel is so huge that as it like hits the reef and throws, it actually goes from being kind of like side off to pulling air sort of from the face into the tube. So what happens is you actually get down at the bottom of the wave and you're basically in a vacuum. The air is being pulled from outside of the wave to inside the barrel. And then obviously after a point, the barrel spits and you get that big like explosion. But until that point, you can't sail kind of too underpowered. Firstly, because you need a lot of speed out back. You need to be completely, like if you're going as fast as you can on the swell, you'll get the swell behind the one that you're going as fast as you can on. And then secondly, like you get to the bottom of that wave and that thing's like pulling you back into it. So I ended up weirdly I chose the Superstar because it's like early planing. You can kind of ditch some of the power. It's light in the hands, but it was a 5.0, so I still had some power at the bottom of the wave. And then weirdly, and this was something that surprised me, I ended up putting like my boom a little bit higher. I ended up setting the board to be like, weirdly, I thought I was going to set everything up for control, and I set everything up for speed. Like I brought the fins further back. I brought the mast track further back, which I was surprised about, just so I could have the board really free flying over the water. And then I actually took a Mamba prototype. And then I took that Mamba prototype. I think the reason it felt the best, I think, is because it has a lot of rail length. in the board, and you need that rail length to drive off. A lot of the guys are kind of using custom jaws boards that have weight, firstly, and then they're kind of about 250 long. So they're really long. And inside the Mamba, you have a lot of rail length for the size of board it is. So I think that's why that worked. But I was surprised. I ended up basically setting the entire setup to go as fast as I could, rather than to be controlled, which I was surprised about.
That makes sense. Makes sense. Wow, interesting inside information. I think it's time to go to some questions from people online. I mean, there's people following us, and I see already some questions coming in. First question is from Peter. You explained us already a little bit, Adam, how your preparation is, but maybe you can go a little bit deeper into it. How is the big wave training like? How long have you been preparing yourself? Who did you prepare with? And did you walk with stones underwater?
Where to start? I probably started, I would say already, in fairness, in terms of like just general strength and conditioning training, I kind of have like a year-round schedule that I kind of stick to in terms of just in the gym and things like that. And that I'd say is fairly general strength and conditioning training. I've been in the gym with Marco quite a bit. And so it's not too far away even from the kind of things Marco does. In fairness, he lifts a little bit heavier than me, but we don't need to talk about that. And then in terms of like the specific like lead up to jaws, for sure we did. I did a lot of training with Sarah Hauser. She's obviously a very successful professional windsurfer in her own right, but she does personal training here, and she's kind enough to do training with Brazinho, Ricardo Campello, Morgan, and I, and we kind of do a bunch of stuff together that ranges from kind of the general strength and conditioning stuff to kind of more advanced proprioception and movement-based sort of training stuff. And so we kind of, especially in that lead up to that swell, dialed back, let's say, some of the more heavier strength stuff, and it increased a little bit more of that kind of balance, proprioception, movement, also kind of, I guess, more cognitive things, so like thinking-y things, and then the breath holding stuff. So first off, I do, I don't know if guys, basically you have these things in there called 2 tables and O2 tables, and then you can get even an app on your phone, and that just is kind of like a series of breath holding. The CO2 ones are really good to do, I feel like, for big wave things, and so that's just a series of breath holds, and you basically decrease your resting time in between these breath holds. And what that does is get your body used to a buildup of CO2 in the blood. And it does actually really help your sort of breath hold. And especially when you're dealing with windsurfing or surfing in those sort of conditions, you are already using a lot of oxygen in your muscles and things like that. So you are going to have CO2, sort of high CO2 levels in your blood. And then secondly, like I mentioned, we've literally been going down to like the big, there's a couple of really cool kind of deepish rock pools, and like literally just after training, taking turns, doing like breath holds, getting kind of disoriented, so spinning around, jumping, and doing breath holds sort of underwater, even taking turns. You kind of want to do it with a buddy, especially when you're dealing with that, especially when you're dealing with being underwater and doing breath hold stuff. I'd say it's really important to always do it with somebody, and do it with somebody that knows what to do if stuff goes wrong. And yeah, so do spinning, like kind of spinning, jumping, and then breath holds. And then while you're breath holding, the other guys are kind of shoving you into the bottom of the, like bouncing you off the bottom and kind of messing around with you. So you kind of have to kind of stay calm, deal with being moved around, deal with that kind of, just to kind of, it's also good fun, but it's pretty good training. So we've been doing that at the end of as sort of probably once a week or twice a week, for the last sort of few months. So that's probably the overall training.
Sounds good. Just for the people that are watching, you can leave your questions in the comments below. We are following it, so if you have any questions, just write them and we'll see how many we can get to. The next question, Adam, is from somebody you might know. His name is Alex Mussolini.
Hey,
You have to be.
what's he doing watching this?
I don't know. He wants to know if you have to be mid part of the wave. That's his question. You have to be mid part of the wave. Adam?
I mean, he must know that, so maybe he's asking me. But I definitely just go straight, so I don't really know.
You don't really know. Well, the next question from
I would say you definitely don't want to go to the bottom of the wave. Like right at the bottom, you're going to be in some trouble. In fact, if you go like out into the front, you're in real trouble.
Yeah. Well, next question is
Teammate.
Seamless. Yeah, it's teammate. Adrian Bosson. Did you hit a big lip at Jaws, Adam?
No, I did not.
You did.
But that's it's one of those things you kind of deal with those kind of, I guess you sail that kind of situation, and afterwards you're like, what about next time? So for me, I feel like sailing Jaws is probably like at least a year long or a multi-year project or like a passion. So watch this space, Bosson. I don't know if I'm going to hit one, but I'd like to start getting a bit more into sailing there more often. And I mean, Brow right now is kind of pioneering, I'd say, critical wave sailing in Jaws, which is mental. But yeah, it would be nice to start getting at least critical with those waves.
But Adam, I got some rumors from France. I think Adrian prepares already for Jaws. He wants to come. Yeah. I mean, everybody knows Bosson. He's really good in freestyle. His level is insane, but he's also a really good wave sailor.
Yeah.
And I think we should push him a little bit.
Maybe he can be the first freestyling Jaws.
Yeah. Riding Jaws
I'm
with
always
the freestyle
impressed,
board.
actually. Every year on the photo shoot, he always comes and he's got some skills.
He wants to hit the lip.
Not before you, Adam. Not before you. All right.
Yes.
We have the next question from Alex. Alex says, what is it like to sit in the lineup at Jaws? Who is out there? Is there a fight for the waves? Are there people trying but not getting any? How do you decide which wave to take when you have never sailed that break before? Well,
So,
it's a long question.
but it's actually quite a good one because you don't quite, I guess, process or realize. On the Saturday, there was tow guys from all over the world, like with jet skis, obviously doing tow laps. There was a bunch of windsurfers. The whole channel is full of boats, and there's jet skis kind of everywhere. And that was something I was surprised about because I kind of thought it's super windy, but there's guys still, I mean, they're trying to get the wave of their careers or their lives, you know, tow surfing too. So honestly, it's a free for all. And like, I mean, on Saturday, there was kind of a lot of times that maybe a windsurfer was on a swell and then a tow guy might kind of come with a jet ski and kind of get in the way, or try and kind of, maybe the jet ski wants to go left, so whip someone onto the other side of the peak at Jaws. And like, I mean, on a couple of the big sets, I had to dodge, like coming in, I had to dodge guys with a ski and a tow, like the tow rope, and then the tow surfer, like had to dodge those guys and do all sorts. So it was, it's pretty gnarly. I wasn't quite like, I think on that Saturday, I probably got 5 waves the whole day. And I think we were kind of there from 11 o'clock till dark. So it's hard, that's for sure. And I don't feel like anyone was getting loads of waves, you know. There's just not, you know, waves a finite commodity, I suppose, and to get them is yeah, it's pretty tricky. I mean, come like as opposed to the Thursday, which was kind of a bit more of a sneaky swell. It didn't have the same period. It was kind of windy. Then it was just us wind, like kind of all the windsurfers on it, and everyone just kind of takes turns. You kind of might even say sometimes you're heading in and you know you're not really going to get that one, and you're maybe going to get the one behind or even the one behind that. So you can kind of like shout to the other guys around. You're like, hey, I'm going to try and go on this one. You can go on that one, or do you want to go on this one? Or someone's like, I'm going to take this one. Do you want to try and get that one? So I feel like when it's like that, everyone kind of shares like kind of at least lets everyone know that they're trying to get this one, and you can kind of split it. Surfing, like the mornings that I surfed it last year, I had one morning with Leon Jammer, and it was just us and one tow team, and that was like unbelievable. And then the next day I went was like annoying because it was not such a good forecast, and I mean there must have been 40 people it was just ridiculous. Like I didn't get away for the first hour and a half, and I mean it's all of the best guys. You've got Ian Mums, you know, all of Billy Kemper, Nate Florence, you know, the lot, and you're just like struggling. It's a hard break to surf, that's for sure.
Yeah, tricky. So you really have to earn your spot there more or less as well.
Yeah, I think on those big swells, it's kind of like people that their careers depend on getting, that might be the wave of the year, you know, so it's a tricky one, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Sounds like similar to us fighting the starting line to get the right position.
In a way, it's our competition. Wow, interesting to know. Thanks for this answer, Adam. We have the next question from Max Speakman. What board did you use, production or custom quad or tree fin, and what sail size? Well, we had the little entertainment story.
Yeah, a 5.0, and I used it. I've got a prototype Mamba that we tried, one with it's got a little bit more rocker.
Okay.
The production, but apart from that, it's pretty much the same as the current Mamba 89.
All right. But custom at the moment. It's not a production board. You still there?
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, in his question is it a custom board or so? It's the Mamba is a custom. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a prototype.
Cool. Thank you. We have another question coming in from Yusuf Brahim. What about the safety measures? Did you see WSL talk about life jackets? They asked the question, should life jackets be only for certified surfers or windsurfer? They think that with life jackets and jet skis, everybody can go to the lineup and feel safe, but they are not. Yeah.
That's actually a really good, I think that's a very good comment. I think one. I would say that, so for example, here in Hawaii, you have to do like a tow license, which does sort of touch to drive a jet ski that has a sled and got like kind of tow stuff. You do have to do a tow license, which has kind of touches on a lot of the safety things. I know, for example, to buy the Patagonia inflation suit, you have to do it's basically a specific big wave safety course to buy it. But there are people, I would say, that go and they don't, like for me, I went and we with Morgan, I shared basically like a safety driver, so to have somebody that would come and rescue you if something goes wrong and you crash, you have somebody that's an experienced waterman, let's say, and they're also there to rescue you. There are guys that just turn up get on a boat, let's say, and just go and maybe they haven't done a course, they bought a Quicksilver vest, which you can just go to the shop and buy here. And maybe they're not taking those risks as seriously as they should. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because somebody is probably going to rescue you regardless if something goes wrong. But that means that somebody's just putting their life at risk because you didn't take that risk seriously. It's a very good question. I've done a little bit of that sort of the courses and been prepared and taken those risks seriously personally because I feel like it's something you should. But yeah, it's a mix-up in the lineup, that's for sure.
But there are some regulations and supposed to be some sort of control, let's say. But yeah, it's the ocean, so
there are
people can
some,
just
but I
jump
mean,
in.
you could go to the shop, you could buy a Quicksilver vest because they're kind of the only ones that you can just go and buy in the shop here. And you could paddle out and jump off the rocks and without a care in the world. So there are some, but there are obviously ways to get around it.
Oh, interesting. Next question from Bart van der Boogaard. Did you ever had a crash with a jet ski or a boat? Good question.
Have I crashed a jet ski or a boat?
Or were involved in a crash?
I didn't crash into one, no. I feel like there was some close calls on Saturday with a couple of guys, but I didn't do it. But yeah.
Not yet.
I don't. Not yet.
Wow.
But how is it actually? You would recommend or what kind of level do you need to ride Jaws?
Ooh, that's a good question.
For example, Joost and me, we would like to maybe ride Jaws. Are we able to ride Jaws? Joost, yes, me not.
I mean, that's a tricky one. I don't know. I would say what you...
Just say yes.
Don't say anything wrong.
I mean, you can just go straight on one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yes, it depends if you want to be able to deal with what happens if stuff goes wrong. If you've got a safety guy and you go on a smaller day, I feel like Hookkeeper at mast and a half high channel closing out is gnarlier than a small day at Jaws, if you want to, a way to weigh it up.
Yeah.
Jaws has a deep channel. It behaves kind of how a wave should, regardless of size, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some big spots that just don't handle that kind of swell. So I feel like there's more dangerous spots at that size.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you have to control your nerves. I think that's the big question. If you are able to stay cool and just focus on wave riding instead of the possible
and
consequences.
I feel I think you want to put some time in to be able to deal with the crash or to be able to control your nerves, like you say, to deal with the crash.
Yeah.
But if you get washed in Jaws, you don't go on the rocks like Hookkeeper.
Do you want to know how many jet skis Kyle Lenny's done on the rocks?
Yeah.
Because he's done 3.
Yeah, we saw some pictures like jet ski on the rocks, but actually I never saw a windsurfer or a surfer on the rocks. So if you get washed in Hookkeeper, I know myself, normally you just end up on the rocks.
Okay, let's put it like this. If you fall... When I've seen people fall at Jaws windsurfing, their gear's on the rocks. At Jaws.
Yeah. Well, there's another question coming in from Lou Mason. It's a little bit about taking risk and what can go wrong. When catching the wave, how do you know you don't go too deep, as we all seen the video, Adam Marshall? My God, what a crash did that kid have.
So Firstly, I'll tell you a little story about that.
Yeah.
We arrived, and I was probably sat on the jet ski for about 15 minutes. I was next to Brasinio and Ricardo. Like Brau's got his jet ski, Ricardo's got his jet ski, and we're kind of anchoring them up in the channel there. And Swifty was like dead keen straight away, so he jumped on the water, like first guy out, came in on like kind of a bomb, sat in the right place, rode it really well. And then like behind Swifty's one, there was just this huge wave. And then like you just saw Adam like fading, like kind of going deeper and deeper and deeper. And you're like, what is going on here? And then he just kept waiting. And then the problem is he went down to the bottom of that wave. And like I said before, you don't anticipate, but it pulls you back into the barrel. And I mean, he just went to the bottom and he had nowhere to go. I think you have to just be a little bit aware. Maybe you want to watch for a little bit. There's obviously, I know like a lot of spots, if you've been there a few times, you can kind of pick landmarks on the shore, and you know that, you know, if you line yourself up between these points, that's kind of where you're going to be. On that day, in fairness, there was kind of like some shifting sets. So there was like some more waves that came a little bit more from the north, or you get the really west ones too, that kind of break in a different place. So I think it's just a bit of time and effort put to watching and working out the like line and the position that you want to position yourself on the reef a little bit. I know like probably the tricky thing was the day before that we had that swell. So the Thursday it was just north swell, and then you position yourself a lot deeper on the reef. And then the next day was like the Saturday, and then that swell had more west in it, and it breaks in a different part of the reef. So it's a little bit of maybe just taking the time to look at the swell angles and that sort of thing. I just naturally do it. I feel like they have a natural affinity to being in the right place. I feel like I have to look and think about it.
Well, thanks for this inside information. The next question, I feel like it's the one for Marco to ask. It's about R&D. Marco.
Yeah, I mean, we started last year on Maui with the developing of the Superstar. It's basically, first we had our super session, and then we came up with the new name Superstar. Everybody knows who is into windsurfing. We had already the Superstar.
Yeah.
It was really great to get it back with the star. And the main changes is like that this year it's kind of a monofilm panel everywhere, and next year we're gonna have X-Ply. It's gonna be the same like the Superhero a little bit.
Okay.
And maybe Adam, you want to talk a little bit about the difference between the Superstar from last year and 2022, maybe some insights.
Just to be clear, the question from David Nansen is, what have you been working on, changing, developing, improving on R&D for 2022? And he is, I think, more curious to the Superstar.
Yeah.
So maybe you can give us some information about that, Adam?
But not too much information.
Not
so
too much.
Firstly, I don't know what I can say now, because we do have some like kind of exciting developments, let's say, in terms of weight and things like that for some special Superstars. And I mean, like the weight of those particular sails are incredibly light, like much lighter than I think almost anything. But in general, like Marco touched on, we've gone to a full kind of cross-ply X-ply construction as the Superhero has. We have a monofilm main panel, and then the rest is full-on X-ply. And I mean, in fairness, we've also worked on I don't know what I can say, but we've worked on kind of luff tube construction. We've worked on like obviously the panel layouts. And so it's a little bit, obviously, I mean, Marco would be able to tell you as well, you know, if you change something by 2 mil already, it makes quite a big difference in the sale. So making those sorts of changes, you know, we wanted to bring out the Superstar in that full kind of sort of more, where I suppose more like similar construction to the Superhero. And so it's also adapting those changes to the current cell and to still make it have the attributes that you want out of the Superstar. So I think it's still really light in the hands. It's still really early planing. It's still really kind of has that on off and that more direct feel. Actually introducing X-Ply already to that part of the sail to have full cross ply at the top, you make the sail a little bit more direct already. Whereas kind of that monofilm can have kind of that little bit more feel that it kind of gives and comes back. The X-Ply has a slightly more direct, just stiffer feel anyway. So it was just a case of kind of balancing kind of those changes. We wanted to improve. I feel like we've worked on how the sail feels. I feel like it's probably a little lighter in the hands than the previous model. Also by kind of simplifying kind of the panel layouts and things like that, you get it. It's probably lighter physically. It's lighter in the hands in terms of how it feels. And then also just working on how it responds on the early planing and also the top end. So we've been working on effectively like how and where the sail releases. So kind of controlling that point that you still have a sail that is direct and still responds, but also has an ability to deal with gust and things like that. So, I mean, I kind of rambling, I feel like, but we've made changes to the luff curve, the construction, the way the Leeds releases, and kind of the luff tube and curve. Yeah.
And I hear you are experimenting with materials as well.
It's just important to say as well that, okay, with the X-Ply in the top panels, it's going to be a little bit more wave oriented, but it's still like the basic is like the wave, the bump and jump still, but it has like the wave performance as well. So in the range, it will keep his position. We're going to have the Superhero and the Superstar. Superstar will be the bump and jump plus wave, especially here.
Yeah.
I mean, the customers, they love the sail here in Tenerife.
Yeah. Well,
the Superstar is amazing here, and doesn't matter if we want to use it on lakes here in Tenerife, onshore, or riding jaws.
Yeah.
Superstar is
riding
doing everything.
Jaws, but
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like Marco said, it was the 5.0s for sure my choice to ride jaws. I mean, funnily enough, I did take a Superhero 4.7 as like my backup sail in case it was really windy for jaws. Just because it sits the board down and drives the rail a little bit more. I thought if it was crazy windy, it would be nicer to have that kind of more like lower down, drivey power. But yeah, in terms of planing and stuff like that, the Superstar was for sure my choice.
Interesting. Thanks, Adam. Thanks. We have another question from Bart van der Boogaard. It's the question that comes around every week, every year. What fin size do you use and how many liters is your board, Adam?
I've got actually right now a couple of boards that all are around 87 and 89 liters.
And what's your weight?
So I've been messing around a bunch actually right now, especially just because I really like thrusters. I like how they feel. And like in Tenerife, for example, I kind of religiously use thruster. I started using a quad a little bit more now, being here a bit more and looking for a little bit more drive and hold. But my go-to size is like about between 87 and 89 liters. I was like that. It's quite nice. 89 is a pretty good size for me. I'm about 84 kilos. And then fin-wise, I flit on a thruster between, I always use 10 sides. They always seem for me, I like how that feels. And then I mess between 18 and 17. Depends a little bit on the fin. If it's kind of a grippier fin, sometimes I'll go down to 17 because I can turn a little bit tighter. But then if the waves are kind of small and mushy and I'm using like a kind of a faster, straighter fin, I normally use 18. And then as a quad, I just seem to use all the time 9.5 and 14.5, and they're pretty much, that's like my go-to quad set that I'll always use. Hello?
Oh, we have a small technical problem, but yeah, you're back. All right, good. That was a problem quickly solved. I repeat, the next question is from Benedict Klinkhammer. Prepare, it's a long question, Adam. He says, hey Adam, big wave surfing is a lot about passion and the thrill to get bigger and bigger. How much pressure do you feel as professional windsurfer from the industry to get the biggest waves? The bigger the wave, the more publicity you get, but also the chance to get hurt is even higher. What is your motivation to get out in these conditions? Best regards. Oof, it was difficult to read, it's so long. It's like
that's a good question.
Full page question from Benedict Klinkhammer.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I would say, yeah, he's right. I would say personally for me, my main driving force to go and surf or sail in those waves is literally just because I love it. Like it's something I feel like I've progressively enjoyed, and it comes, I feel like a little bit, like when you were learning, I feel like learning to windsurf in the UK, you start sailing storms, and like as you get better, you go to the sea more. Like I learned on a lake, but as you improve, you start going to the sea. In the UK, we get lots of storms in the winter, and you start sailing bigger and bigger waves. And it's that kind of pushing yourself, I suppose, is addictive for sure. And so yeah, that side of it, I guess, is the main driving force for me. From the brands, I would say I don't, in terms of sailing big waves or surfing big waves, I don't feel any pressure. I feel like I get, they're kind of happy that this is something that I want to do, but I feel like they're kind of happy that it's something that I want to do rather than it's something that they want me to do, for sure. It's something that I just have progressively enjoyed more and more over the years, and I really enjoy that side of it, and I don't feel like there's any pressure weirdly from them. I think you're right. Obviously, there are more and more consequences and risk, but I feel like we get more pressure for events and things like that. That's definitely where I feel pressure, let's say, to perform for sponsors and things, as opposed to the big wave stuff. That's purely for myself, honestly, and just out of the pure love of doing it.
I want to put no pressure on you, but next time please hit the lip, huh? No, but
so now it starts. It's starting now, Ben.
I can confirm from the Duotone brand that we are really happy, because Adam is actually the first Duotone rider, wave rider, who was riding
really?
Jaws.
Wow.
So for the marketing, it's really good to have him, and we got some really good content now.
Yeah.
Thanks to Adam. But next time, hit the lip. Pressure's on.
Pressure is on. Oh,
Yeah, take it all back.
Yeah, I take it. I do it because I have to. Thank you, Adam. Thank you. The next question is from Mathieu Kerboul. Do you do any mental preparation before sailing Jaws? And if so, what are they? What do you do to prepare mentally?
I did. So I would say like my mental preparation is Jaws, like windsurfing in Maui kind of gets windy later on. It's not like it's going to be an early morning affair, let's say. So I kind of get everything nearly ready the day before. And so like I know that, like I have spare rope, I've got a vest, I've got all of that stuff, and I've got all the sails ready, and I've got masts, and I've got things like that. And I've got the boards ready, and I've got spare fins, and like I get all of that I know I have everything, and then I leave getting everything properly ready till the morning. And for me, that is just a case of that I want to be busy in the morning, and I don't want to be sat around waiting, pooping in my pants. So it's definitely like that for me. I find that whole process of making the rig packages, maybe testing the vest, getting everything ready. I like to leave that till the morning, and then I do a little breathing exercise the morning of as well, and that's kind of it. I feel like if I sat around and waited, I'd be a wreck. So I definitely don't do that. I definitely try and make sure that I'm doing like a bunch of things before, and then it's just you're ready to go down to the boat ramp and you load up the jet ski and you go. Because normally, like once you're already at the boat ramp and loading the jet ski, and for sure once you're on the water, I feel like you get less nerves already and you're kind of calmer. It's a bit more normal somehow. And like waiting around in the morning is awful. Like then you feel pretty nervous. Sure. I do anyway. I don't know if anyone else does.
Sounds like a preparation for an event. Similar.
Yeah, exactly.
Find a
It's
routine.
easier to be busy than to sit around waiting.
I can imagine. Well,
Perfect. Incredible stories, huh?
Yeah. Adam, thank you so much. I think that were all the questions. Really happy with your explanation and super thank you that you were here taking the time for us.
It's nice. I feel like we got to do the first meet and greet together, so I'm kind of bummed I can't be there. I mean, not that we can do it.
No, yeah, we miss you here with the meet and greet. I mean, it's different, but it's still very nice, and we cannot have the meet and greet here in the center, but we bring it to the people through the internet.
Yeah. So Joost, we have all the information now. I think we are ready to ride Jaws.
Yeah, we can do it. Yeah, see you next week and
Get the jet ski ready.
No way, hombre.
We stay here in Tenerife.
No, we stay here. It's also warm. There's also some wind, also some waves every now and then. So we're fine. We'll let you steal the show there. We'll stay away. And no, Adam, thank you so much. We stay in touch, and best of luck with the next session, and good luck hitting the lip.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Thanks. Cheers. All right. That was Adam Lewis on Skype. I hope you all enjoyed this this meet and greet. I really enjoyed listening to his stories, and it's incredible to imagine sailing a wave like that. Next week we'll be here again. Next week we'll have
me.
of course, Marco again, and we will talk to the world champions. Pierre Mortefon will be here in the studio, or in the center, how you see it. And we will talk with Victor Fernandez, Pierre Mortefon, world champion slalom in 2019. Victor Fernandez, world champion wave 2018. I'm sure they can also tell us some secrets.
Yeah, I think we will get all the information how to become
now we can
champion.
sail Jaws. Next week we will become world champions, slalom and wave, so all good. Thank you all for watching. We see you next week. Cheers.